Hi everybody, Sam Slishman here with Slishman Essentials. I am today interviewing Robb Mourton, and we spoke just last week at SOMA. That's a Special Operations Medical Association. That was at a trade show out in Charlotte, and I gotta say, I'm glad that trade shows are in person again. This was a pleasure. So I met Robb. He actually taught me and my 5-year-old how to put IVs in using his new trainer, and it was great. He has a pretty cool system. Actually, it's more than just for IVs. It's a multi injection system that he's built. So I said, oh, why don't I interview you and you tell the world more about your product? So looking forward to hearing more from Robb today about what he has cooking. And here he is. Robb Mourton is a retired Army Master Sergeant, and he has invented an IV trainer. And I want him to do most of the talking today, so I'm just going to go straight into it. And Robb, can you tell us with your 2-minute elevator pitch about your product? As I'm walking down the trade show and you try to bring me in,
right?
Go for it.
All right. So the MITS, multi-injection training system. Basically, it's a composite training platform that does multiple training platforms like IVs, needle decompression for tension pneumothorax. You can suture on the skin. You can do emergency crikes on it. It just does a myriad of things that one product sitting in a classroom, clinic, or training environment isn't gonna cut it when you have so many different venues to train to. So I wanted to create something that addressed that. I'm a retired medic, and I was in charge of training multiple levels, echelons of combat lifesavers, Army personnel, Navy and Air Force personnel, and we couldn't always get them into the clinic. We couldn't give them the big old IV arms to take home. So I came up with this tube device where everything was stored inside of it. You could put it in your cargo pocket, throw it in your backpack, take it with you, practice on it. When you come back, you're more proficient and you're getting those first-time sticks. So that's pretty much what it does. It's the only compact device like it on the market, and it's priced so reasonably. It's pretty much like I said, you're getting 7 things for the price of one.
Yeah, I can remember my first IV stick, and it was with a friend of mine who became an orthopedic surgeon. This was at WashU, actually. And he tried on me, I tried on him, and many failures later, I feel more proficient at it. And he's an orthopedic surgeon now, and he would say that he since has put in probably a total of 2 IVs ever.
Right? Yeah.
So,
it's a perishable skill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So
was there one moment that triggered you getting into this, wanting to build something like this?
Yeah. My background is as a medic, but I also do occupational therapy. So on the civilian sector, I started working with PVC pipe to address some issues I was having with patients, like Huntington's chorea, or patients not being able to lock their brake extenders. So I was familiar with how to make things out of PVC pipe. Early in 2005, right before the big push, every single military personnel had to know how to give an IV. If you're a computer geek or a truck driver, it didn't matter. The problem with that is they didn't have enough training devices to cover and actually give them the adequate training that they needed to give them confidence before they would send them over. So I went out and I was looking around a hardware store and I said, I can make little trainers. Got some PVC pipe, cut them up. I got basic insulation foam, put surgical tubing around it, and then I covered it with a surgical glove. I made 50 of these. And took them out to all. Say again?
When was that? How long ago?
2005. So this is the initial thought process. I made 50 of them. We had a bunch of people who were adverse to sticking people with needles. They would literally shut down. When I gave them these trainers to take home, they'd come back and get first-time sticks because it's muscle memory. They get comfortable with putting that needle in and being able to advance that catheter. That transformed into my first prototype when I came off active duty. And then just progressed from there. So the aha moment was the mother of necessity, right? That's what it is. We needed to do it.
Yeah. Do you by chance, do you have some early prototypes you can
I
show?
do. They're kind of funny to look at. So this one here was one of the first ones I made. Made it with a cap because I wanted it to be a self-contained sharps container, right?
Yeah.
It's just a piece of PVC pipe, a very, very simple piece of surgical tubing
Yeah.
over the foam, and everything went inside of it. The funny thing is it had one little bitty hole, and you had to try to find it and hit it,
Oh,
which is almost impossible. So that was one of the first ones.
so you didn't have a skin over it at the time?
No, no, it was just them hitting. Well, I would put a surgical glove over it just to cover it up, but you could
Yeah.
see where it was, right? Here's another prototype I made. So this was the first one that I made that would have multiple tubes running over.
Okay.
Okay. I used the neoprene as a simulated skin to give it some cush. And then I would put a glove over this one as well too. I even used a little bit of TheraBand. If anyone does therapy, it's that stretchy stuff.
Yeah.
So that was my biggest hurdle, was trying to find the right skin. I couldn't find anything out there that I wanted. All the sim skin was too thick. I didn't think it took a needle well, and it was just overpowering my device. So ultimately, what he ended up doing was making my own skin, right? Then I went from the plastic model to an anodized aluminum model. So I actually had a race car company create this for me out of aluminum.
Okay.
So this is heavy and thick, and it just was clumsy. So I knew I wanted something a little bit thinner, lighter weight, and then we needed to change that little hit hole where that needle was supposed to go to something more visible and attainable. So we started working with cutting out different size holes.
Nice.
Now this one's a lot lighter weight. So this was the first prototype that I liked that was milled out lightweight. We anodized it. We can anodize them in any color.
So you went to metal and then back to plastic eventually.
I did, yeah. So the metal, because I wanted it to be tactical. I wanted it to be sturdy enough to take out to an austere environment, in a training environment. Like this is an unanodized model.
Yeah.
It's just silver, right? But this is the first time that we started to put legs on it that would hold the new skin that we had made. So this is the first prototype skin.
Yeah.
It didn't hold up very well. But you could get good sticks out of it. And then we came up with this skin, which is a lot more durable.
So of all of these different parts, what actually took the most iterations? I would imagine the skin took an awful long time to get the right durometer and
It did. It really did. So we had to have molds made for the skin. So it was very expensive risk, actually. But we had to work with a solution. It took us about 8 months. I sent it to me. I tested it out.
Did you already have a product on the market at that point, or was it we're just trying these out? Let's try this, try that.
We wanted to perfect the product before we took it out there. Other people were using it. Now, I had been using this in the military to train up my combat lifesavers. So it didn't matter to me if it was at the end stage where I wanted it. I was using that as a test out. I was getting feedback from the medics, which is really important.
Yeah. And so what other kinds of hurdles were there between idea, early prototypes, and online presence with sales?
So, yeah, you had to go and you had to have a patent, right? So, to my benefit, one of my therapist friend's ex-husband happened to be a patent attorney, and she got me an interview with him. I sat down. Of course, I already had my prototypes, and he was looking at it, and I had CAD drawings already made. When I sat down with them, he told me how much it was going to cost, and I said, "Oh, see ya. I can't afford it." And that's the thing. If you're going to invent something, you have to understand that those patents are going to cost a lot of money. And so we started doing some research. Long story short, I really lucked out because my partner, Doug Chirovich, actually was a patent attorney, and he went to his bosses, and they did the first ever contingency agreement. So ever. And so Doug thought, hey, this is going to save lives. We're looking at doing this. You're a veteran. We want to help you out. So it didn't cost me any money up front for my patents. And he wrote the patents. So we're patented pretty much every step of the way. That's what took the longest time. It saved us because when we started to push it out in the market, and there's other devices out there that do similar things, they may want to see it. It's simple to replicate, but we got to have it patented. So
are your patent attorneys now becoming your marketers too, since they have a stake in it?
Well, while I was on active duty, Doug really kind of held the fort down. Plus, you have to worry about crossing over from military to civilian, that I couldn't be in conflict of interest. So Doug would step in if I was talking to some military personnel that wanted to try him. He would have to send them out under mock tech, and I had to kind of back off because you're in uniform, you have to be careful. So now that I'm out, retired, makes a big difference.
You can talk to anybody, do whatever you want.
Yep, sure can.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then, so have you been making big sales? I mean, are you still in the stage of?
We have, yeah, we are. We've had a distributorship with one company, Online Safety, and they were covering most of the West Coast, the schools out there. SLU, which is a teaching hospital here in St. Louis, they actually use them in their sim labs. We're looking at WashU. So there's military applications, but we're also looking at all the sim labs in the civilian market too.
Oh, I think it's much larger than military I mean, every nursing student, every medical student, veterinary, like there's so many people that I think could benefit from using this product. And
anybody who sticks, anybody who's got a suture, emergency crikes. So
go into that. I think we've focused a little bit on the IV side of things, but this really is something that gets used for an awful lot of other things.
It does. As an example, in 2019, 2020, I was at McGregor Range. I was a GISTO in charge of Air Force and Navy personnel going in and out. We had the Roll 3 Navy guys come in and COVID hit. We couldn't get them into the clinics to do their fast training. So I actually had some of these brought out. And the Roll 3 surgeons were teaching their corpsmen and their nurses suturing techniques. So the skin, I'll show you this one.
Yeah.
You just take the skin and you cut it in different configurations. You take your needle and you use your driver, and it takes the silk or your thread extremely well. So they're practicing all their suture techniques on this. So that you just take off all the tubing, and it makes a perfect suturing platform. The other thing you do is emergency crikes. So that same portal where you're going to be doing the needle decompression, we'll talk about that. You just cut your T in there, and you slide it in, and you strap it in. We're also going to be making a marker, an exoskeleton marker, so you can check the markers, so you know how you're training on this. That's in the works right now. Needle decompression for tension pneumothorax. We're also making exoskeleton to show the ribs, the second and third rib. So in between its intercostal space, you take your needle, 90 degrees, you push it in. You can unscrew the cap. Sharps goes inside. And now you're doing your needle decompression for tension pneumothorax.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I don't love going into prices of things, but what is the retail for the skin? So do you sell them in 10 packs, 50 packs, 100 packs?
Right. And I'm going to tell you, the pricing is a little different now because the cost of plastic has gone way up since COVID. It really has. But on average, we sell a pack of our resupply pack is $25, and that's where you're going to get 4 skins, the tubing, and everything. So if you wanted to buy individual skin, you're probably getting it for about $3 a piece.
Okay.
But here's the thing about our skin. You can hit this multiple times. I've had reviews on it where you can take a 20 gauge, a 16 gauge needle, hit it about 20 or 30 times down that IV line, and it just pulls right into place.
Yeah.
So it's
Honestly,
very, very
I'm
durable.
thinking more along the lines of the suturing.
Suturing, yeah.
But I guess if you just keep suturing it up, it gets more
Right.
and more
And
interesting.
again, the more you buy, the cheaper it goes down, right?
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
and I pass that savings along to my customers. So if I get a break, if I can make a big batch and I get a break, that pricing will note on our website, and we're going to pass the savings on to our customers.
All right, now tell the difference between your regular model and a tactical IV trainer.
Okay. So the tactical IV is what we originally put out there. It has an NSN number on it. It's on the model actually. So it's right here on our model. If you want to purchase it, hold that right. I made this for austere environments. My thought was a couple different positions was as a field medic, as a medic, I do a lot of training out in the field. I want something that's durable. That if I got to do hip pocket training and the commander comes down and says, hey, you have to do your combat lifesaver training and we've got this much time, right? Then I've got to be able to pull something out, not go get my big long arms and try to set something up. I pulled this out and I trained up hundreds and hundreds of soldiers on these models. It's durable. I even had 6 MRAPs run over it. Why? Because I could. Say, hey guys, run over this. I put everything inside of it. They ran over it. Big 6 MRAPs. I pulled everything out, put it together, and we're doing training on it, right?
So tell the rest of the world what an MRAP is.
MRAP is a big vehicle. It's a new troop vehicle. It's a massive vehicle. It's an anti-mine vehicle. So they're huge. Yeah. So the other reason I wanted this to be a tactical model was when the first SOMA happened, I had a couple special ops guys come up and say these would be great when we go over to train the locals. That we can give them something that's durable, train them up on site, and then we can give it to them as a gift, right? In other words, we're going to teach you how to save lives, and then now you can pass this training on to your guys. So I wanted I made it durable for that. The other thing is anodizing it. I can make it any color I want. So if the Navy wanted it, it could be blue. If the Army wanted it, it could be green. We can laser etch any emblem on there that you want, so you can personalize it. Then I was thinking about the price on that in the NSN system is $349, right? If I was an end user and I was either trying to get back into it, or I was a new EMT student, a new nursing student, and I can't afford $400, right? I wanted to make something that was affordable. So we came up with the composite model. And the composite model is the MSRP on it is $149. When you buy it in bulk, like if you go online, it goes, again, 200 units or less. That price can fluctuate, right? But the MSRP on this one is $149. It's not in the NSN system yet, but hopefully soon it'll be in the ECAT system. But what you can do is, like, if I sell to a nursing school and they're going to buy a lot, that price goes down to about $125.50 a unit. And that works out for them.
I have a maybe it's a smaller splitting hairs type of question. There's a bunch of different color tubes on those. Are they just different colors, or are they different durometers as well? I mean,
so
in the sense of
it's kind of funny that
thin vessels.
Supply and demand kind of played a little bit into that. Also, when we went to SLU and we were talking to them, they really didn't care about the color, the red and the blue colors. They just know that the red is for the wet stick. That's where and I'll show you how to do that too. And then the amber veins, one vein is going to be tight for a static vein, one vein is going to be loose so it rolls under the skin. The colors didn't mean much to them. For me, it symbolizes the blood in and blood out. When the blood's in the body, it's blue. When it comes out, it's red. It gave some aesthetic quality to it. I would like to maintain the blue and the red, but we also sell the amber tubing for those people who just prefer the amber tubing, because they may have that on hand too, right? So there's no delineation other than I think it's aesthetic, and it just adds a little bit more quality to the product. So we're in a process of getting more blue tubing and red tubing. So there's no cost difference in that.
Yeah.
It's just whatever the end user prefers.
And so you mentioned the wet stick. Why don't you go into that?
Yeah. So the wet stick is inside your kit. You're going to have a syringe. and it has a special stop valve on it.
Yeah.
So what you do is you can take simulated blood like this. I just put little blood packs in some water. You fill the syringe. So we call this charging it. And then you're going to take your tubing and you're going to connect your tubing, right? And I'm going to do that. You can't see it, but I'm going to do that and hold it up. And the one end just simply slides over. It's very simple. And then you charge the tubing. So this fluid is going to go into this vein right here.
Okay.
When I charge it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm going to lock it in place so it doesn't come back out. And now this is all pressurized. So when I take my needle, my calf needle.
Yeah, so you get some
Yeah, you hit it, you get a flashback.
Got it. Yeah.
So it validates.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty neat. That's simple and elegant.
Yeah,
like
and it is simple. And everything that the composite model does, the tactical model does.
Okay.
So the setup difference would be how you thread it. In the tactical model, you pretty much thread the tubing through the little choppered holes. And then on this, I wanted it very easy for the students. I didn't want to have to think about it. They just line it up, hook it in. And then as you hit it, once it starts to leak a little bit, all you have to do is advance some more of the red tubing through, clip it down, and start punching again. So.
And so what's the plan on, I guess, scaling? Or do you have distributors, or how are you going to get the world to buy these?
So one of the biggest advantages of going to SOMA is meeting the distributors face to face. We had a hard time getting out there trying to understand this product. When you're calling them up or when you're trying to make a cold call, they don't have time to really sit down and see what it all does. They just go, okay, well, we've got IV arms. We don't need anything else. They needed to see the simplicity of it. It's not about finding the vein. It's about creating that muscle memory in everything that you do, whether it's a suturing or the emergency crike or doing your needle sticks. That takes face to face. So SOMA gave me the opportunity to get it out there to some mainline distributors who it was a huge blessing because they just started wanting more and more of these. Since SOMA, I've had 4 or 5 distributors asking how can they get them. Yeah, so it's taken off quickly.
Nice. Congrats.
The only distributor I have right now online is Online Safety, but that's going to change real quick. So
okay, all right. And are there other versions or uses or other things that you want to talk about or tell us about?
Yeah, so in the tactical advanced model, and this is maybe 3-4 years down the road, we've got the ability to make them, and if it comes sooner, that's fine too. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to make it do a nasopharyngeal airway, which simply is getting some of the silicone shapes of a nose so that you can actually stick a MPA down the nose. That's going to clip in here. Or if you wanted to use a fast IO to do an IO, a simulated piece of bone will clip in there.
All right.
And I've talked to the company that owns that, and they're very interested in that. The other thing is sub-Q and IM shot modules. So the tubing inside, once you block it up, you can do XStat. So I'll be looking at working with the developer of XStat. So this tube will actually be a trainer device for XStat.
And just for other people XStat is a product for severe bleeding, and you inject, I guess you'd call them sponges, right? Is that the best way to
They are. They're little sponges, yeah.
Little sponges
this is the big tube.
And when they are made wet or bloody. And the hope is to put pressure from the inside to stop bleeding.
It's a clotting effect, right? To help the blood clot and stop the bleeding. So those are some of the things that we're working on. And I think I'm going to stop at that. I think 12 things is pretty good for one little device. The cool thing about it is the new revamped deployed medicine that the Army or the military just went through. My device hits all tiers from 3 down. So if for combat lifesaver, needle decompression, If you're a tier 3 combat medic, you can emergency crike, you can do suturing on it. So it fits right into the military platform. But just like what you're saying, on the civilian side of the house, I have a friend that's a veterinarian, and she's frequently having to start IVs, and then they get the IV assistants in. They can't afford a $120,000 sim dog, but they can certainly afford an IV trainer where it has the marks for like in the paw or on the back of the paw or in the ancillary points, and they can train on this as well too. And then the firehouses, all the paramedics go through this training in the firehouses, so this is a perfect setup for them to take it home and practice and come back and get their validation sticks.
Yeah,
so
it's great, Rob. I love it.
Thanks.
So are there other questions that you'd like me to touch on? I feel like you gave a great demo here.
Oh no, I think we've covered just about everything. It's an adventure, right? I have to tell you that you have to stay positive. I can tell you that there was a lot of no's. There are a lot of people who weren't looking at it, weren't getting it. And then you have the ones that have the ability to go out there and buy multi-million-dollar systems. But is it easy for the end user to use, right? And the question of that is, you set people up for success. And the one thing I've learned in the military, if I taught all of my students at a 6th grade level education, I'm not saying they're not intelligent. I'm saying I want them to be successful. So that's how I was thinking about when I made this. Make it as simple as possible, effective as possible. And if the end result is it gets them validated, then I've met my mark. Yeah. So far, I've met my mark.
Great. I look forward to seeing them out there more. I
Thanks.
look forward to seeing you at a future show. So.
Absolutely.
All right. That was Robb Mourton with his multi-injection training system, or MITS. And I love it. I think it's a great product. Really interesting. Rob's a super nice guy too. And look for it. That's all. Have a good day. Bye.